I'm going to do the same as my brother. And just unfortunately, in the city of New York City, their sheriffs are appointed by the mayor. They don't have any law enforcement abilities. And remember, the state of Connecticut don't even have sheriffs. And I know that there's some states across the country where legislatures are looking to get rid of the office of sheriff. It's kind of a travesty because basically in law enforcement and the chiefs of police, I appreciate the chief being here. The only, when I worked for a police department, the chief of police was always answerable to the mayor. And, they have to do what the mayor says or else they find themselves, out of a job. And for chief of police to take a stand is amazing. Sheriffs are the only ones who, our chain of command is actually the citizens who put us in office. I don't answer to the commissioners with the exception of a budget, but I do answer to the people that put me in office. And that's my chain of command. I point to my deputies, I don't work for you, you work for the people, I serve the people, I'm here to make sure you guys do your job on behalf of the citizens of Nye County. Nye County is a big area, it's over 18,000 square miles. 97% of Nye County is BLM, U.S. Forestry Service. We have ranches up there, and majority of ranches we have is like my brother over there, they're like the size of the state of Rhode Island, they're gigantic. And I just want to point out, it was unfair, Richard, to point out that there's only like 6 of us here. We only have a few sheriffs in Nevada, which is big. We don't have that many sheriffs, not like Utah. So by comparison, we might have a majority by percentage. Before I ran for sheriff, I was a deputy with Nye County. In 1999, I started my career. I moved out here because my family all moved to Nevada. And my mother was living in Nye County. And I was a deputy. I became the canine coordinator. I have a lot of experience in that. And I decided to run against the incumbent sheriff who was running again for re-election. In 2001, there was a cattle seizure that took place. In 1991, there was a cattle seizure that took place. That one was by armed members of the BLM. Subsequent to that, 2001, while the sheriff found out about, we presume, because it was very convenient, all of a sudden BLM's coming into town and the sheriff and the DA decided to take a fishing trip up to Alaska. And they leave a poor lieutenant to deal with the authority of BLM, which basically, from what he stated, is that his ability to forego the cattle seizures was very limited indeed. I ran, and while I was running for sheriff, I became aware of Mr. Wayne Hage and his plight with the BLM. I read his book, Storm Modes and Rangelands. I actually called Wayne Hage 3 times. He did not return any of my phone calls until the 3rd time to yell at me, saying, "You talk with a foreign accent, you don't know what you're talking about, you're an East Coaster, and you don't have any idea what my problems I'm facing." So I said, well, let me explain what your problems are. And I was able to identify them quite accurately, of course, and we had a 6-hour meeting at his ranch where we had a discussion about the problems that I was having with a federal agency. They were doing cattle seizures basically upon a written consent by a bureaucrat. And I mentioned one of the sheriffs did mention bureaucracy, and that is basically the battle we're facing is bureaucracy. This 4 level of government which he identified as a problem. They believe that they can supersede the Constitution of the United States of America. They believe that what they write in a piece of paper is going to hold water in a court of law and basically intimidate people with these written orders. When I was elected sheriff, and I beat the other former sheriff by a great margin, shortly thereafter, BLM did come down to Mr. Wayne Hage's ranch and try to do a cattle seizure. I sent my deputies along with the lieutenant, and I got to give Lieutenant a great deal of compliment. He did what I told him to do. Do not let them take cattle off that land unless they had a warrant from a court of competent jurisdiction, which is all Mr. Wayne Hage wanted. He did not want to disobey the law. He says if they come with a warrant from a court that has competent jurisdiction, he'd help them put them in the cattle cart. He didn't really care, but he wanted his day in court, which is something that was denied by the bureaucrats. It's kind of interesting in our Constitution, we had to put, there's a saying in New York, New York, New York, it's so nice we say it twice. And, you know, right, in the 5th Amendment and the 14th, due process is so nice. We have to make sure you understand it twice. And so I basically was threatened by Mr. Al Brandt, who was the solicitor of BLM, with arrest if I did not let BLM take the cattle and do this unlawful seizure, which I stated, make sure if you send someone BLM, it's not from Reno, send someone Vegas, because it's only an hour ride up where I live right now, and from Valley, and I'll be more than happy to go with them, but once I get bailed out, before I talk to the lawyer, I'm going to go on Bill O'Reilly. I mentioned his name to them, and I'll talk on his show about what you guys are doing. And as I said, it's just around tax time, so I'm pretty sure that the people of the United States of America is going to be very interested in that the governments around us time we have to do our taxes, what they're doing to the people in Nye County and across the United States. Subsequent to that, there was more seizures and more threats of seizures taking place. They never occurred. I had a meeting, Mr. Bob Abbey and his SAC, Danette Gordon, actually wanted to have a meeting with me in Vegas in August of 2004, which of all the buildings here in Las Vegas, there are a lot of federal buildings. We always believe that the reason why the seizures were taking place, one is because they want his land, and the other is because of the water rights. And I was always told that water rights were never an issue by anyone I spoke to at BLM. And then I had the appointment of the meeting, which was at the Southern Nevada Water Authority here down a little further down Flamingo, in what they called the Muddy River Room, of all places, which I kind of thought was ironic. I mentioned that to both of them. And basically we had this discussion about what they were doing wrong and what the Constitution stood for. And I said, understand, and even if that 100-mile square thing that they say the customs that says no constitutional rights as a constitutional free zone, if you do anything wrong in New York City, believe me, whether you're a federal government or local government, you're going to get sued. They believe in the Constitution no matter what the government says. But we had this meeting, and I explained to them what was going on and why they could not do a seizure. And at that point, we were threatened with the United States Park Police coming into Nye County to do a seizure, which I stated that would be a mistake because I'm a law enforcement agent. I'm an elected official. I'm the elected constitutional officer for Nye County, and that is not going to occur. If you come with a warrant from a competent court of jurisdiction, that's one thing. If you come with one of these written bureaucracy letters, you're going to have an issue with Nye County Sheriff's Office and whoever you send to do an unlawful seizure. And subsequent to that, in 2005, Ms. Abbey left. We got a new SAC, and we started having discussions with BLM. We started talking about what the issues were and what we expected as far as the law enforcement entity, what the citizens expected, what the ranchers expected. And we came to this piece that if you come do your cattle head counts, you will let us know ahead of time. We will send a deputy to escort you on the property. Before you do anything within Nye County, you have to give us a heads up. We will escort you around the ranch land so there's no problems and making sure you do the job that you want to do, and my ranches are going to be safe and secure, that you're not going to do anything illegal. And up until that point, that's just what happened. I mean, we had this discussion. Mr. Wayne Hage, after he died, I was actually in Maricopa County. I know Joe Arpaio is here somewhere. I was looking at his jails in July 2006, and I get a phone call from Debbie Matthews, who's the SAC for U.S. Forestry Service. And then she calls up saying that she has a way of solving all the problems of the Wayne Hage Ranch issue. And at that time, she said, I want to do a cattle seizure. And Wayne Hage is not even cold in the ground yet. And here they are trying now again to pick on his family and his son, who's the rancher now up there, and try to do an unlawful seizure again, which I stated that's not going to happen. And we actually had an appointment for her to come to my office where my captain from the South Area Command, Lieutenant Captain Beck, and I had discussion about where the government's going wrong and where these bureaucracies and where these people are forgetting about the Constitution of the United States of America and where they're basically not obeying the same oath of office that we all take. The Constitution, the oath of office we take, some similar differences in the states, but it's all the same thing. To support and defend the United States Constitution, to support and defend the Constitution of your states, and to serve the people and obey the laws thereof. Same. They did not understand that. She believed that she got her powers from Congress and not from the people, and she didn't believe that Constitution in its current respect basically stood as long as she was getting these orders from a bureaucracy in Washington, D.C. somewhere. I'm proud to say that that Mr. Wayne Hage unfortunately won his case in 2008. He did one of the smartest things that I think anybody ever did. He took his case to the U.S. Claims Court, and where basically is he was suing the government for compensation violation of the Fifth Amendment, and violation of the Fifth and 14th Amendment and the Fourth Amendment. And he won. Unfortunately for Mr. Wayne H., he died 2 years before his case was realized and where he won. He was fighting that case for quite a long time. It drained him a lot. The federal government, as any government tries to do, is try to bankrupt you into compliance. He fought hard. These ranchers have a horrible, tough life out there that we don't even understand. To watch them on a daily, what they have to do to put food on the table for us and for the families is amazing in itself. All this over a couple of hundred head of cattle on an area the size of the state of Rhode Island, where he was basically denied being able to use his water rights, which basically they wanted to do. And subsequent to his victory, the victory of the Wayne H. family, in 2008, the federal government actually awarded him over $150,000 for loss of his water rights during that period of time. This is from the 1991 case. I'm not doing anything different than any of the sheriffs and law enforcement did across this country. I mean, people will say, oh, I'm glad what you did. I did my job, as all you do. All we do is we take an oath of office. We're here to protect and serve the constituents who put us in office. We, as law enforcement authority, get our authority from the people who we serve. You know, and I think, now, it was kind of interesting. I actually have a history book, the history of Jersey Police Department from I call it the old country, from 1642 to 1891. And in there is the course of instruction that cops have to know before they graduate that academy in 1891, which is when the book was authored at final. And it basically says who is a police officer. And it basically says that we are created by the people who we serve. We get our authority from those people who are the people that we answer the calls of service, the people out in the street. That's who created us, and that's who has our authority. And I have to remember that even back then, cops realized that it wasn't just necessarily the badge, but it was the people that give us the power and the authority to do our job, and those are who we serve. I don't do anything different than any other cop did. I'm a cop at heart. You know, I know my brother from Nevada. They do the same job I do, to support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America. I kind of appreciate the fact that Richard Mack had me here, and the rest of the people that are speaking. But there are a great number of your law enforcement people that are doing this job every day, that are serving you, doing the constitutional duties constitutionally. And you know, you have to give them support. Sometimes they don't get enough support from us, and you know, from who they serve. And I know that the brethren that from these other agencies are doing the same thing. Everybody wants to hear though that there are people that are doing this job, and just doing the job that they were sworn to do. I think that we have new opportunity with new legislatures now to get people back in Washington to steer us in the right direction. It's kind of funny that lawyers seem to know the job, but they're all making these crazy laws, and some are just unconstitutional. And we have to call it back. I know that there's people that are running for office that, at the federal level, that will bring us back into that path and making sure that our government serves the people who put us there and put us there. I appreciate the opportunity, and I thank you again. Thank you, Richard, for the opportunity and for the invitation.